All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the f*** up, boys.
It's bumping right now. It's got my juice pumping, boys.
All right, we're here. Saturday mornings with Crunch Time. I'm Caleb Czarnik. I'm here with Michael Gentry. Make sure to like the stream, subscribe if you're not already, buy some merch. Coming at you every day. The other guys, 8 to 10, Monday through Friday. Then we're here 10 to 11. Mike, how we feeling today?
I'm doing good, Caleb. We got a fun Saturday ahead of us. We got a good show planned for the boys. How you doing?
I mean, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great, Mike. You know, and I'll say this: I'm a guy that I feel like, and I don't want to turn into one of those shows, but I feel like we start every show talking about the weather, like we're 75 years old.
Yeah.
But I'll say this: I'm a guy, and I know it's a little rainy today, but I'm a guy that gets the effect of like the seasonal, like that little funk. You know what I mean? When it gets cold out, you're like, fuck, I don't want to do anything, whatever.
Yeah.
This weather turn, Mike, it's got a little pep in my step, and I'll say that.
Yeah. No, especially even on a day like today where it's rainy out, even though it's going to be a little bit warmer, you just enjoy that nice weather. And what comes along with that nice weather, Caleb, is also golfing. And
yes.
You know, me and Jeffrey, we got a little active on the range yesterday, got some swings in. So that's the best time of the year. Golf season's around the corner. We're gonna have some fun on the course. I'm loving it. And you got baseball starting soon. So it's gonna be great.
I do see Motown Mitch. Tornadoes tore up everything in my area.
Oh no.
Wow.
What area is that?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's terrible to hear. But we got a ton to get to. A lot of Lions news. A lot of Tiger stuff, spring training, Pistons. Want to start with some Tigers, Mike?
Let's do some Tigers, Caleb. And Caleb, I know we've kind of talked about this guy a few times, where he would end up in the bullpen. Like, basically, we've had a lot of question marks around this guy since he's been drafted. He's been on and off, injured and whatnot. Casey Mize, he's been absolute dealing in spring training. What do we got for your expectations on him for this season? Obviously, expectations have changed after he's played so well in spring training, but just your general basis for that.
I mean, Casey Mize is absolutely fucking shoving right now. And this is a guy that we've been waiting year after year to be that guy. Yeah. And for a minute, this guy, we wanted him to be our ace. Obviously, we drafted him number 1 overall. Everything's starting to come together, at least in this spring. I mean, I'm looking at it right here. He's got 11 innings under his belt this spring, 14 Ks, only 5 walks, 4 hits. I think when you look at it right now, this guy could truly be your number 3 starter going into the year. Right. And then Reese Olson moves down to 4. And again, I take everything that happens in spring training with a grain of salt. But I mean, the splitter looks good. The fastball's up there. His command is good. Slider looks good. Everything about Casey Mize right now screams to me a really good starter in the MLB. And he is. I know I was talking. You know, when we had Chris on the show, I was saying, you know, I think Reese Olson is the biggest X factor in this rotation. With the way that Casey Mize has been throwing, he can 100% be the guy that puts this rotation over the top to maybe call them the best rotation in the American League, especially with the injury to Garrett Cole with the Yankees. I keep looking at this comment, and I'm gonna say something. Fart inhaler. I mean, are we looking at the same one? Fart inhaler. What's going on with let's go? Fart inhaler. You want to talk about this?
Oh no, I thought you were going to talk about this one.
I mean, yeah. The answer is yeah. But yeah, the goatee. I mean, what do you want me to say about it? Look, I've been what's the opposite of being blessed? Cursed? I've been cursed yes. with the inability of not being able to grow a beard, but I feel like as a fat guy, you need to have something on your face, whether that is some sort of goatee, mustache, anything. And I'm just going on the the shitty goatee train.
Yeah.
So,
to be honest,
so that-
I think it's coming in. It's coming in, Caleb.
No, and
great
I'll say
things
this,
take
Mike. You
time.
don't need to patronize me. You don't need take time, Mike. I've had this since my freshman year of college.
It's all right, but you can't rush greatness. You know, it's going to come in. It'll be a full beard sooner rather than later. But we'll keep it on the
You
Tigers.
can't say that to me. You can't say that to me. But we'll continue with the Tigers. But don't say that to me.
All right. Javi Baez. We've seen him a little bit bouncing around out there, infield, outfield. What are we doing? Javi Baez at third base, Caleb?
This is bullshit.
What?
This is bullshit. You can't. What are we doing, Mike? You can't. What are you turning Javi Baez into? What are you turning Javi Baez? Are you trying to turn him into some super utility guy that he's not? This guy was the worst hitter in major leagues last year and was fucking brutal the year before. What are you trying to turn Javi Baez into? Because he's a decent fielding shortstop. I think he is. I think some of the metrics say he's not. He makes a good amount of errors, but I think he makes a lot of plays. Your best bet to get anything out of him is have him play shortstop every 4 days to give maybe Trey Sweeney some sort of break. Because Mike, I just don't understand it. I don't understand.
Even at that, he obviously isn't so bad in the field, but we know what he is as a bat. So I don't know. You've seen Trey Sweeney the way he ended last year, had some ups and downs, but for the most part, a lot of ups. So I don't know. I'm still confused at the fact that we got to this point, Caleb, with Javi Baez. But I mean, hey, shout out to our guy Neil Rule too. He was down there at the game. Got a nice video of Javi walking off after his error. Oh, it's classic.
This is a guy that you just have to cut tie. Like, I mean, I think he's owed $72 million.
Oh, it's brutal.
For the rest of his contract. This is just one that Illich is going to have to say, okay, yeah, I mean, we fucked up. You got to cut ties here. Like, you can't have this guy hit seventh in your lineup every fourth day. He's an out. You could chalk him up as an out. And then moving him to third base, trying to get everything you can out of him, it's just not going to work. It doesn't work that way. And you saw Mike, the first game he played third base, he made an error immediately that extended an inning. It just brutal stuff.
And see with like teams around the league that they don't, like Houston, stuff like that, that when you juggle players around, like how they're moving Jose Altuve to outfield, and like, I mean, obviously they were supposed to do all that to complement Alex Bregman and keep him on the team, but like when you're just juggling players around like that and they just don't have that fit, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where to turn with Javi, I guess, is what I'm getting at. And I mean, like, you've seen it around the league. When you do this with players that are just that odd man out and they're sticking out and they just can't find the rhythm, and you try and just find that perfect spot, it usually doesn't end up well, and they end up doing actually worse. So I don't know.
And I don't necessarily think this is AJ Hinch's fault, because I think because if it were up to him, he wouldn't be on these lineup cards. That's just my opinion. I don't think he would. I think this is something where, and I hate to put everything always on Chris Illich, but I think a lot of it always does come back to him, because I think someone that actually, wanted to be competitive, would have cut ties already. So I don't know. I mean, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. I mean, you're just setting yourself up for failure for putting Javi in the lineup card.
No.
We
can move on, Caleb. We're not going to ruin your day. Talk about Javi Baez too much, but I do want to talk about one thing. What do we got going on in center field? I feel like we are cursed in this aspect because we talked about Parker Meadows, for so long, and how we are excited. I said that's my Tiger or whatnot. I said we are so excited to see this player, and then he's going to miss some time. So how do you think the Tigers plan on helping that center field situation? Who do you expect to have out there, obviously, on opening day? And what's just the basis on Parker Meadows' injury? I like the seriousness of it and whatnot.
I mean, yeah. So Parker won't be ready opening day, and neither will Bierling. So that's 2 center fielders off the board. I mean, I'm looking at a guy like Jemiah Jones, who has played well in spring training. He actually is getting the start at third base today. So, I mean, they're trying to see what kind of versatility they have with him. I see someone in the chat say Randall Smalls, Max Clark. That'd be unbelievable. But that's just not going to happen. But Kreidler's been playing a little center field. But I think ultimately, the opening day center fielder, my guess would probably be Riley Green. But I think somebody needs to sit Riley Green down and tell him, don't dive for every ball. Just don't get yourself injured out there. Just be out there, be a decent defender until Parker Meadows comes back. Because right now, if the ball's hit to center field, no one's there to catch it. We don't have someone that is a bona fide center fielder right now, or someone that we know is going to consistently give us good defense in center field. Oh, okay. I want to address this real quick. Randall Smalls, has anybody in Detroit media ever gave Baez a break? Have any of you ever tried to play the hardest position on the field with a messed up hip? Randall, he's been the worst hitter in the major leagues for 3 straight years, and he's getting paid $30 million a year. It's very difficult to cut him some slack. It is. Baez got me fired up this morning, Mike.
Yeah, I know. And he's shown no stretch of consistency throughout his whole career, or throughout his whole tenure as a Tiger, rather. But Caleb, we have 2 more things we're touching on with the Tigers real quick. First, I want to get a Spencer Torkelson update. I know we weren't even supposed to talk about this, but Caleb, the guy's raking. What do we do with this information? Because we were fully sold on the whole Justin Henry Malloy situation. We were kind of expecting him to be our first baseman, or Colt Keith rather. Like, we were expecting these guys to be in the lineup over Spencer Torkelson. We weren't really hoping, or not hoping. We weren't expecting rather for him to be hitting this well and whatnot. So, kind of give your thoughts on that, and what should we be expecting for Torque in this future, and obviously coming up to opening day.
Well, now it's looking like they're just trying to find him a spot in this lineup with the way he's been hitting in spring training, because reports this morning is that he's getting work in right field. So obviously we just talked about the injuries in the outfield. Now he's getting work in right field. Mike, you kind of know my stance on it. It's like, if this guy could be productive, this adds just a different element to this team. It does. And, if he could give us that even like 20, if he could give us like that 8-10 OPS, like, this just adds a different, you need a right-handed hitter right now in that lineup. You need a right-handed hitter that hits for power. So, Torque is, I feel like we talk about him every week, but Torque is a guy that...
Well, to be fair, we've kind of slandered him for a little bit before spring training and him not making those adjustments in BP and whatnot. And then it kind of seemed like he did take some of that into consideration and whatnot. And he's been hitting the ball well. So I think he deserved at least some good words about him, as much as we've been talking bad about him. So he's done well this far. Hopefully he can obviously carry that over into the season and make it a season-long thing for us, because we can sure use his bat. We could sure use those home runs, and we could have definitely used it last year down the stretch when he was striking out every other at bat. But
all the hate comes with love, Mike. All the hate I give him definitely comes with love.
Yes,
I'll say that.
That's fair. All right, Caleb. So opening day, who is our bullpen? Our last little bit of Tigers here. Who's Caleb's bullpen on opening day?
Well, there's one guy. I was listening to Castellani's show, and him and Scott Bentley were talking about, like, who's gonna be the closer, who's gonna lead this team in saves. That's a tough question, because I don't think it's gonna be Jason Foley anymore. I think Tommy Canley is up there, but there's a guy, Mike, that I really think, who kind of broke out at the end of last year, who I think is gonna have a phenomenal season this year. And that's Bo Brisky. Obviously not a great spring training so far. If Bo Brisky can go out there and throw strikes, he is going to be such a good reliever in this league. He's been in a lot of high leverage situations. Last year in September had a 113 opponent's batting average, 17 innings, started in 5 games, was the opener in 5 games, had 15 Ks. All he has to do is throw strikes. That's all he has to do. And he is going to be one of the better relievers in the American League. With his fastball has been his go-to pitch. And if he could just put that fastball where he wants it, he is, in my opinion, him, Holton, I'd say Canley are those guys in the rotation. And like I said, I truly do think, yeah, we have one of the best bullpens in the American League, if not the league. And I think a lot of credit to that goes to Chris Fetter, because you look at the names there, they're not the craziest names, like the Brent Herders, the Shung, like the Gunthers, the guy that threw a lot of good innings for you. But I mean, and I keep talking about X factors, and I was talking about Reese Olson and Casey Mize in the rotation. Bo Brisky is that X factor for me in that bullpen. I mean, he's electric. In September and a little bit in the playoffs last year, he was the man. But Mike, I hate to do this to you, man.
I know. I know we got to transition to Red Wings right now.
Hey, man, they suck. Hey, man, they stink.
We got Juan Soto in here, so I just want to give a special shout out. Juan Soto. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Juan Soto, for tuning in. Not what you would expect Juan Soto to be doing on a Saturday morning, but we really appreciate it, Juan Soto. Like the Wings stink. The Wings stink.
Yeah, Caleb. So you come off a win against Buffalo, where pure domination goals were coming, and then you go into a team against Carolina. You go into Carolina, obviously, and this is a team that the Red Wings kind of like are wishy-washy against. They never play too well against Carolina. Carolina, more physical team. They usually just get pucks on. But this was a game where the Red Wings actually didn't play awful offensively. They were getting shots on. They were the more physical team and whatnot. So, it's a tough L, and they're still 2 points back of the playoffs. But particularly in this game, out of all the games that we've been talking about the last 2 weeks on their losing streak, this one I wasn't as disappointed in as in the other ones, because I think they could have easily won this game. It was, kind of knick-knack and whatnot. I think the offense, you've seen Alex DeBrincat and that second line really take it to the next level. Now you kind of need that first line, which has been so consistent all year long with Lucas Raymond and Dylan Larkin. We kind of need them to get back on their thing and get back on the grind. And especially with that power play two, you just, as soon as the power play 1 ends, it kind of drains your hopes as far as that whole power play. You just haven't seen the success as amount of goals with that power play 2. You have been seeing more chances. So I think you could lean for a little bit of improvement on that if they are going to turn it around and make playoffs. But overall right now, Caleb, like you said, it's been tough sledding.
Yeah. And I mean, so obviously you get the big win against the Sabres. Kane 5 points. And you want to string something together here. I know you said last night they didn't play that bad.
Yes.
But still, I know the Hurricanes are a good team, but you want to string something together here. So, I mean, when, if at all, do you see this team start to turn things around? Because the playoffs are approaching, and the standings are going to start, making themselves out, or, shaping up. How much leeway or room for error does this team have right now?
To be honest, little to none. You would expect it, like maybe after that Buffalo game, they strung a few wins together and they did beat Carolina. But like I said, they didn't play all too bad that game. But I believe they have the hardest remaining schedule for the rest of the year. I mean, just looking at the games right now, you play the Golden Knights, Capitals, you play Vegas again, Utah, Colorado, Ottawa, and Boston to finish out the month. And really none of those teams are slouchy. Even Utah, they've really come around, and they're a fast-paced, good team. And so, I mean, they really need to put the pedal to the metal right now if they're going to make playoffs, and they need to, win consecutive in a row and go on a little streak here, because I mean, the standings are still so bunched up that 4 in a row, 5 in a row, whatever it was that they lost, really took a toll on them. And like I said last show, it's happened every year at the same time. They always slouch at the beginning of March, and it's just brutal.
Yeah, and shout out Doc in the chat. Wings have no grit. They need some. They need some. This is what they need. I mean, they need something. They need something to go their way. You know, I think yesterday they were on the road yesterday, right?
Yes.
I think a road win yesterday would have done wonders for this team. You know, like you said, you just got to string some together, because there's not much room for error right now, in my opinion. There's not. I mean, I'm not saying you're gonna have to play flawless hockey for the rest of the year, but you can't go. But you can't go on these like 2 or 3 game skids. You can't.
Yeah.
If you want to make it to the postseason.
Yeah. And like I said, the schedule just gets harder and harder as you go on. So no, you can't play slouchy. Like I said, even though they lost that game at the Hurricanes, they were really physical that game. I believe they had like 20 something hits in that game, which is kind of un-Red Wings like. But that was kind of that playoff hockey mentality, and they need to keep that going through this back stretch if they are even going to have a chance, because they only play playoff teams outside of Utah for the rest of the season. So
yeah, you're really going to see what this team's made of.
Yes.
You're really
like Patrick says right here. He said the good and bad news is we have a tough remaining schedule. We get the answers for next season and see how this team finishes off, regardless of making the playoffs. It's very true. But I mean, I feel like we've gotten some of those tough answers the last couple of years when we've been in this position. And then what's to come after that, I guess you could say in the off season. And it just really, I don't know. It just hasn't shored up those answers to me. I don't know, Patrick, you might feel different, but even if they do terrible from this way out, I just don't know, you know, if they do good. Obviously you could say maybe they'll add some guys and whatnot. I don't know how bad, if they do bad, what that much is going to change. I don't know who they're going to offload at that instance and whatnot, but I don't know, Caleb, it's tough.
And I want to say this, Mike. When I hopped on the Wings train,
we were
I was excited.
Highs of the highs at that point in time. Yeah.
I'm almost ready. I mean, we talked about it last week. Like I think just looking at it from not even, you know, a hockey perspective, but looking at it from a sports perspective, everything that Steve Yzerman has done hasn't been, obviously has drafted really well, but what he has done hasn't, you know, amounted into much success. So, I mean, if the Yzer plan doesn't maybe change the course or, you know, change things up a little bit, Caleb might be jumping off the train.
Damn, Caleb.
But then I'll have to, but I'm in a tough spot, because then I'm going to need to.
You're going to need to jump back on once they get rolling again. So, yeah, it's tough. I don't know. Like I said, the whole Yzerman thing, I think you got to let him get his goalies that he drafted up, and then that'll kind of configure his draft picks. Obviously, you still have Nate Danielson and MBN, a few other guys that you will his draft picks that will probably be called up later on. Maybe Nate Danielson sooner rather than later, but I think that's kind of going to assure up Yzerman's tenure, is if those guys pan out and those guys make real impacts on the team. But you know how I feel about most of these signings that he has made over the past few years, the Ben Sherratts, the Justin Holes, even though Ben Sherratt's been playing fairly well this year and whatnot, but Ben Sherratt, Justin Hole, even Andrew Kopp, JT Compher, it's just guys you kind of expected more out of for the money they're getting paid. But
yeah, I don't know. Mike, we're going to talk about a good team now. Can we do that, please?
Hey, yeah, we're going to talk about a good team, Caleb, that lost to a bad team, being the Wizard. But I know, no. The Pistons have been playing great. I didn't get to watch the ending of that game. I caught the beginning of it. So I just wanted to talk to you about how that one boiled down. I mean, obviously they have a game against the Thunders that's tonight. So they got to bounce back. And how do you bounce back when you lose to a team, obviously like the Wizards, and then you go against the best team in the NBA? It's a bounce back, Caleb. You need to bounce back.
You need to bounce back, but Stu came out after the game and he was saying, I think we took this team a little bit for granted. The Wizards. The Wizards are they're a shitty team. And, you went out 2 nights ago and you beat the hell out of them, and then you come out and you lay an egg. I thought this was a weird game overall. A couple of things that stood out to me is Malik Beasley should have more than 5 shots in these games. I think they've gone away from getting him, and I think this is because the addition of Dennis Schroeder getting another score off the bench, but I feel like they've gone away from getting him, those 10, 11 3-point attempts that he should get. After all, he is the best 3-point shooter in the NBA right now. So that was one thing that stood out to me. It was Beasley only 5. He's a guy that has to get 13, 14, 15 shots a game, and 10 of those being threes. Another one is Ausar Thompson not playing in the fourth quarter. He only played 19 minutes that game. And it was a point where you needed a steal or you needed an impact play on defense. And Ausar Thompson and even guys like Ron Holland are going to be the guys that are going to do that. So if you're going to close games with Schroeder, Cade, Tim Hardaway Jr., Malik, Tobias, any of those guys, they're going to have to step up defensively. But again, JB has done such a great job. This is the first game where I really watched, the Pistons. I was like, I'm not sure what JB's thinking here. Tobias, Ausar Thompson has to be on the floor at the end of the game. I don't care if it's the Wizards. He has to. And another thing about Ausar Thompson, and I saw Ku Khalil bring it up, and I think it's a really good point. Actually, Hamid Diallo quote tweeted it when he talked about. Did you see this, Mike? Where he was like,
"Yes, I did. Yes, I did."
Like we're just using Ausar Thompson as like Hamid Diallo right now. After when 3 weeks ago, Ausar Thompson was playing on the ball more and playmaking and getting to the rim, and now he's kind of roaming the baseline again, like he was under Monty Williams and in the beginning of last year. Ausar Thompson, and he's young, and it's only his second year in the league, but I think him and JB are really going to have to figure out what exactly his role on this team is, because he looked great when he was the secondary ball handler next to Cade Cunningham. The game Cade Cunningham was out against the Sixers on ESPN, Ausar Thompson was the point guard for that game. He played the 1, and he looked unreal. So I don't know. That's kind of my takeaways from it. That loss sucks, but it's frustrating, but that's not going to kill your season. You're still firmly in, a playoff spot, the 6th seed.
Yes, the 6th seed. But
those are wins you'd like at home too, and on 3-1-3 day when the crowd's packed. Those are wins you have to get against a terrible Wizards team. But we caught them on a good day and a couple questionable coaching decisions. And
the Wizards came into that game a little fired up from the game before, so there was a little extra incentive for them. But like you said, you gotta close out games against like a team like the Wizards, especially when you're playing at home. So, Caleb, obviously they play the Thunder tonight, and then they got the Pelicans on Monday. What do they need to do tonight to try and contain the Thunder? Obviously, SGA and playing at an MVP level rate. They just got Chet Holmgren back. The Thunder have been rolling all season. How does a team like the Pistons try and slow down what is the Thunder?
Yeah, just play your game. Play the way they've been playing outside of last night. They've been the best defensive team in basketball. Obviously, SGA, he's a tough guy to guard. He gets the superstar whistle. But just play aggressive, play physical. That's how you've been winning basketball games on the defensive end of the floor. You're tiring these guys out. When you're playing good defense, then you have the ability to run the fast break, to get those open shots in transition, to get those, fast break dunks and layups. Just play your game, play physical. And I think that's something. I think that's that. We saw JB Bickerstaff talk in the beginning of the year. He said, you're going to figure out what this team is in February and you're going to figure out what Detroit basketball is, that's what they are. They're a physical team that likes to rebound. They like to play defense. And that's hard to find in a young team, is a team with the willingness to play defense at a high level, and they do it. So, and again, the Wizards loss, yeah, it sucks. It's frustrating, but like, I trust this team so much, and I trust JB enough for that's not even going to affect them. And honestly, I think at home, if they go out and beat OKC tonight, they're right back on track. And they're ready to go. And Steven, you're 100% right. Try to stay out of foul trouble early too. 100%. When you have Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart, going into halftime with only 2 fouls each, you are in very good shape. And another one by Steven. I mean, this is something I've been thinking about a lot. Play Asar and Holland
just gonna bring that
more
up.
And sit THJ. THJ has not shot the ball well these past 2 months. I don't have it in front of me, but I believe this month he's shooting like in the 20% from 3, and last month was like 33%. And I think his shot selection sometimes is a little poor, but he's a lengthy defender. I think he guard 2 through 4, on a good day. And I think he brings that veteran presence out on the court, in late games. So Steven, I do agree, and I 100% understand your point, because, again, like I said, this is something that I've been thinking about. But I just think taking that veteran presence defensively off the floor with a guy with the ability to shoot a good 3-ball, it's going to be difficult. But I mean, he is not shooting the ball well right now, and it's hard to keep Asar and Holland off the floor defensively. Cornelius says Tim Hardaway Jr. has always been a streaky shooter, which is why I never understood why we brought him in. He goes cold at the wrong time every time. I get it. I get it. He is a streaky shooter. We see it this year. Like I said, these past 2 months have not been great shooting for him, but I don't know. He's just a lengthy defender and a veteran presence. So he's going to find a way to impact the game positively somehow, even if he's shooting not great. So that's just me. But Mike,
before
go ahead.
I was gonna say before we get into some Lions, Devin Booker.
Yeah,
Devin
I was just gonna bring that up.
Yeah, so like I don't know. I seen a few things on Twitter. You know how my stance on this. I don't think Matt Ishbia will ever give up Devin Booker. I don't think he'll ever let his team fall into that rebuild stage. He'll do whatever he can. Obviously, that Bradley Beal contract is just destroying that team. But what's the basis on these rumors? Because, like I said, I'm still under the impression that there's never a chance that Devin Booker is going to leave Phoenix. Matt Ishbia, he knows how valuable a guy like Devin Booker is. Him still being in his prime, him still being very young. Even without Kevin Durant, without Bradley Beal, I still think that they could obviously build something around that team. Obviously, they put themselves in a little bit of a position with trading for Kevin Durant and trading for Bradley Beal and whatnot. But what do you got on Devin Booker, Caleb?
Look, I think it'd be fun. I think him and Cade Cunningham would be unreal. But I don't see Trajan, and I think it really depends on what Trajan Langdon feels about Jaden Ivey. If he believes Jaden Ivey could be the guy next to Cade Cunningham, there will be no move for Devin Booker, and I think a lot of those moves will be, in the offseason will be used on, wing players, the 3, the 4s. But Mike, what does a Devin Booker trade look like? I made a video on like this on Twitter. It includes Ron Holland, and I don't want to trade Ron Holland. And he's under contract for 3 more years with a Cade Max deal, with Booker, with a potential free agent signing, with a potential Jalen Duren extension. You're a little tied up there to get all the other pieces. But again, I will say this: Devin Booker would be fun.
Yeah. Like I said, it's not going to look like a Luka Doncic AD trade. Like it's going to look more like a Kevin Durant from Brooklyn to Phoenix trade, where you're trading a million picks alongside a good player. Like I said, I don't know. It's too unrealistic, and I don't even know if the Pistons would be willing to give up some of the guys like you named, like the Ron Holland and some of these young core guys, even for a guy like Devin Booker, which is crazy enough to say. Would I be all for it? Yes, I would be. They can take Ivy.
Well, you're a Suns fan. You're a Suns fan.
No, well, yeah, I'm a Kevin Durant fan, but
sure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could take Ivy and a few other pieces and some picks for all I care. You get Devin Booker alongside Cade. I think that'd be the perfect fit, and it would do wonder for the Pistons. And then you can kind of fill the spots around them. But I do think it's still unrealistic, even if the rumors keep ramping up, even if Devin Booker wants to come here. Matt Ishbia isn't going to let him go, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I feel like, the only way I would make a Devin Booker trade is if it 100% makes you a contender in the Eastern Conference. And I don't know if it does that. So, I mean, you're looking at the landscape of the team, and when you have a starting five, it'd be, Cade, Book. I mean, you don't have a three because, Tim Hardaway, we're not re-signing Tim Hardaway Jr. You're going to want to keep Malik Beasley off the bench. You're trading Ron Holland if you get Book. 4 would be Tobias next year, and then Duren. And I didn't even bring up Stu. Stu might be a part of that deal too.
Yeah.
So
a lot of teams have been interested in him at past deadlines, obviously, when the Pistons haven't been doing so well. He's been a name that's been brought up. So,
and Randall Swallows, I 100% agree. Why can't teams just grow together and grow better and add? Why do all D-Terran fans want the shiny new toy always? A little hypocritical of me. For the Pistons, I agree with this. For the Lions, I disagree. And for the Tigers, I disagree a little bit, because Tigers, there's no salary cap in baseball, and I really wanted Bregman. Tigers wanted Myles Garrett, wanted Trey Hendrickson. But Pistons, I do agree.
Yeah.
I do agree with the Pistons. It's like this team is the 6th seed right now in the Eastern Conference, and they're the 6th seed right now in the Eastern Conference, and they're one of the younger teams in basketball. So, I mean, it's going to be a hard team to break up.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agreed in a sense with the Tigers, Red Wings, and the Lions, really. I think the Pistons is the only one, I guess you could say, because they've shown some flashes as of now with this young core, and then you kind of just add to it in the offseason, re-sign some of these guys. But I still do think the Tigers, obviously, you've seen their success in the play, or them last season and getting to the playoffs. I think they were a bat or two away, and they could have been even more competitive, I guess I should say. And then the Lions, get someone opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. Like, I don't know. Those 3 teams, I think you can make cases they need a shiny toy or two. But I guess you can get it from, or I understand from the Pistons standpoint, I guess. But
we'll get right into it, Mike, with the Lions. I mean, you're talking about getting a guy opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. I honestly haven't had much of a chance to talk about free agency with you yet. What are your thoughts on kind of what the Lions have done in re-signing Derek Barnes, re-signing, Tim Patrick, signing DJ Reed after losing Carlton Davis, losing Kevin Zeitler? Those are kind of the notable ones. Bringing Levi O back, but no edge. The edge position has not been addressed. I guess my first question is Brad Holmes putting too much pressure on himself in this draft, and to find a guy at 28, because he's a great drafter.
Yes,
maybe the best in the NFL, at least top 3. But this year is so important because you're going in next year as maybe 2nd or 3rd in Super Bowl odds, and you don't have a reliable guy across from Hutch. And people have made great points on Twitter, like, name a team that has 2 really, really good edge rushers.
Yeah.
It's not existent, but where would you rank Marcus Davenport, among second edge rushers? Not that high.
Yeah.
So
he's got to play too. But.
Yeah, he's got to play. But Mike, has Brad Holmes put too much pressure on himself in this draft?
I don't want to say he's put too much pressure because obviously they could still go out and get another edge rusher. I still think he's done pretty good with the signings. I love the DJ Reed signing. I was a Carlton Davis guy. I wanted Carlton Davis back, but the contracts right next to each other, I totally okay with DJ Reed. I love the player that you're getting. I think he fits right in with this team. The Derek Barnes, I like it. Obviously, he shown flashes until his injury, and even dating back to last year playoffs, I think he's done good. Would I have liked that he signed another edge rusher that is a known factor and not I don't mind the Levi, especially for the price, and then he can bounce around a little bit. But the Marcus Davenport, I know you're paying him next to nothing. I just would have liked to have at least another sure-end thing, no matter if it was bringing Zadarius back on a little bit lower contract. I know he had that guaranteed money, but I would have just loved if they had another edge rusher going into this draft. That would have, so he can do his normal niche of best player available and whatnot, and that he doesn't have to go off course, even though he might still do that. But I just think there's still so many question marks on the opposite side of Hutch, even though Hutch has been playing so well. And you made the point, not every team has two great edge rushers. But I mean, I don't know. With Marcus Davenport's good when he's healthy, but anyone on the opposite side of Hutch is too great by any means. And I still think you can date back to last year, the year before that. That's all we've been looking for, is someone else to get pressure outside of Hutch. And we just continuously go off seasons, trade deadlines without, I mean, obviously this year we got Zadarius Smith, so we addressed it a little bit, but we're going off seasons we're having so many question marks on that defensive line. And I think that's kind of the one thing that we've been needing to shore up.
Yeah, and I think, Mike, we've almost lost a little bit of our ability to truly criticize Brad Holmes on the free agency this year, because there have been signings in the past that have been good from Brad Holmes. Again, he's an excellent GM. I mean, bringing in Kevin Zeitler on a one-year deal last year, the Carlton Davis deal, he was productive for us before he got hurt.
Yes.
But I mean, you just look around, even the NFC North, these teams, the Bears, the Vikings, they're loading up to take away your best skill, which is running the ball. And that takes us to losing Kevin Zeitler. I mean, you look at the Vikings, they bring in Jonathan Allen and Hargrave. The Bears bring in Grady Jarrett, on their interior. And how the Lions have combated that is lost Zeitler. So that worries me a little bit. And I think that changes unless you bring in a guy like Will Hernandez or one of those guys, because I saw Roy Lopez, another one of our signings, posted a picture on his Instagram story, like tagging Will Hernandez or something. So maybe there's something happening there. Maybe, but I just think this might change the whole landscape of the draft, because I don't know about you, but I don't see maybe that much of a bounce back year from Graham Glasgow. I just don't.
I think you kind of know what Graham is.
Yeah, and he's going to be on the same side as Decker, and Decker didn't play well last year.
No, he did not.
So, yeah, and I won't even mention that the Bears loaded up on the offensive line too. Joe Thuney and well, I guess I will bring it up because I am right now, and Jonah Jackson. They bring those two guys in. So these teams in the NFC North, they're getting better. And I get these teams have quarterbacks on a rookie deal, so it makes it a little more flexible.
Yes.
But even teams that, Jeff was talking about yesterday, teams that are cap strapped are making deals. They're signing guys for 1 year, $10 million. I just don't know how there hasn't been a guy yet outside of DJ Reed. I just don't see it. Like, and if you want to talk cap, the Chiefs just made $40 million in cap somehow. Came out of their fucking ass. Like, it just came out of nowhere. Pause. But I mean, like, it's possible. And Randall Smalls, fuck what other teams are doing. Why? These teams are getting better around us. And I think there's an argument right now that the Lions have gotten worse this offseason so far. And again, there's a lot of offseason left. Draft, everything. But the Lions have gotten worse so far, and it's frustrating.
Yes. I mean, I do think there's still ways to go around it, even like the Eagles with them losing some of their big name guys. They're kind of recouping with playing like lower salaries to guys that can still go out there and make an impact. So I don't know. There's moves to be made, but Caleb, do you think as of now, though, where do you rank the Lions in the NFC? Do you think they're still a top 3 team? I mean, they're still the best team in the NFC North without a doubt. I don't care what anyone says. I'm not even entertaining that this morning. But where do you think they rank in the NFC? Obviously, we still have the draft. We still maybe have some other moves to be made. But where do you rank them in as far as the NFC goes?
It's a tough question because a lot of teams have gotten better, and there's a lot of younger teams that are going to progress. I think the Rams are going to be really good. Washington got better. Obviously, I would put Philly at 1. I think Philly is the obvious best team in the NFC, and I would probably put the Lions at 2. I mean, the Lions are still so talented, but you would love to have seen some moves that really shored up some, missing pieces. Like the edge position. Like, you would have loved to see moves where it's like, okay, yeah, now this team's ready to go. Okay, they got Dante Fowler out, opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, like those type of moves. But they're still a really good team. Obviously, 2 rookie coordinators. Well, not rookie coordinators because John Morton has been a coordinator in the past. We'll get to that in a second. But obviously, 2 new coordinators. There's going to be some ups and downs in the beginning of the year, but yeah, I would still put them at 2. I think so too. And last year, I mean, even when we were doing the show last year, I was kind of high on the Eagles to begin with. Jeff's in the chat; he can account for it too. I was really high on the Eagles to begin the last season. Ooh, I think I froze up. I think you're good.
No, sorry. No, but I was really high on the Eagles to begin last season. I'm going into this season the same way. Obviously, they're Super Bowl champions, but I still think they're going to be a great team. So I'll take them at 1 and the Lions at 2.
Yeah, and I'll say this too about the Lions. It's like, if you're Brad Holmes, you can't run this team like it's. But when you're going into free agency, you can't run it like it's like a small business where it's like family owned, like you just keep all your, like, you're gonna have to go out and make some moves you might not be, necessarily that comfortable with. You have to find, and again, I will say this, he is a fantastic general manager. He's one of the best drafters in the NFL. But in free agency, he has to find that controlled aggression. You know what I mean? Like don't go out and sign a guy for 4 for 120. But go make one more of those DJ Reed moves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But a player that he believes in. You just got to find that controlled aggression. That's how I feel. And again, I think the Lions are going to be a really good team. They are a really good team. They're very talented. A lot of great players on this team. A lot of players that we didn't have last year down the stretch, due to injuries. I get all the injuries. That's brutal. That's like an anomaly in the NFL to have that many. But again, like I said, I just wanted a couple moves to shore things up. And there's offseason left. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, there's offseason left.
You kind of brought up the coordinators, obviously, John Morton, Calvin Shepard. Which one of those 2 do you believe is under more pressure going into next season? To kind of, obviously, both new coordinators taking over, Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. Just who do you think is under more pressure out of those 2 to kind of steer the ship the right way and kind of keep things rolling? I guess you could say John Morton's case, or Calvin Shepard, kind of maybe even turn things around, get a little bit better because of all the injuries that defense faced last year. There's definitely room for improvement on how they ended, for sure.
Yeah, I think both of them have a really exciting opportunity. Obviously, with Kelvin Shepard getting a fully healthy defense back as a rookie coordinator who's been in this system for a long time, and with John Morton, a guy with the New York Jets, didn't have the most talented roster in the world when he was an OC. So, who has more pressure? I'd say Morton, just because of the sure talent he has on that team and what Ben Johnson was able to do with this. And because if he makes some drastic change to this offense, I think fans would be a little bit upset because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think that's something John Morton knows. And I think that's what all the new, position coaches know too, is, they know their MO, they run the football. They're going to play off their offensive line. and they're going to dominate you on the trenches. And then obviously you have speed in that offense too, and Jahmyr Gibbs and Jameson Williams. So I mean, more of the pressure is probably on John Morton to go on there and succeed because of what Ben Johnson did last year and the talent they have.
Yeah, no, I was kind of under the same impression. I still think there's room for improvement on the defense, and I think getting a little bit healthier on that side of the ball, along with getting DJ Reed, a few other guys. I think it's got to be John Morton. For all the reasons you said, I think you're taking over debatably one of the best, if not the best, offense in the league. So if he makes major changes and they struggle, it will all be raining down on him at that point. But like I said, you kind of got to pick up where you left off and then just keep it rolling and get even better. This is another year with this offense and these guys playing together. Another year of Amon-Ra and Jared Goff. There's another year, Jared Goff, Sam Laporta. These guys have just been building that chemistry. So it's as crazy as it sounds, he has no slack. You got to come in and you got to fit like a glove. And this offense has to be a top 5 offense from day one, and it's got to stay that way throughout the whole season. There's no excuses for John Morton.
And yeah, I agree. And I get it in the beginning of the year, there'll be some hiccups, obviously, because it's obviously not going to be, an entirely new system, because John Morton is one of those guys that helped build this offense, with Ben Johnson. But there will be hiccups in the beginning of the year. There will be. And that's something we're just going to have to realize. But how long did those hiccups last? I was just watching. This kind of brings me to this point. I was just watching Dan Campbell on part of my take from 2023, and I thought he made a really good point about just how like beginning of seasons will work and everything. He said in the beginning of the season, it's the team that makes the least mistakes, and then once you get more into the season, it's the team that makes the most plays.
Yep.
So I think if this offense under John Morton can just, in the beginning of the year, just, take care of the football and dominate the trenches, they'll be good. Because, dude, they are so talented. And like Shifkat said, it's going to come with growing pains. Yeah,
and I think to take away some of those growing pains, a lot of that is like far as the offense responsibility, it's going to be on Jared Goff. Even though you do have a new OC stepping in, you've been the quarterback here for a while. You know how this offense is ran. So he should be the guy that looks to kind of eliminate those hiccups, eliminate them growing pains, and kind of even, I guess you could say, settle in John Morton a little bit more. But I know we're going to get to mailbag in a second, Caleb. I wanted to read this comment. I believe it's Malik is how you pronounce it. I'm also frustrated that the fact that we have a first-time DC and Brad has barely done much to set him up for success. And then he says, yes, here's an injury-prone Davin hurt. I like it.
Nice.
Have fun.
Yeah, this is what I just there just has to be something coming, because that's another factor why you should try to go get someone opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, because you have a rookie DC. You want to make it as easy as possible for him, as you should, any coordinator, rookie or not. So I wonder what those conversations look like. I think Kelvin Shepard was a big part of bringing back Derek Barnes, as a linebacker coach. Mm-hmm. He's worked with Barnes since Barnes' rookie year. And I believe he was with him with his rookie year, maybe his second year, but I'm pretty sure it was his rookie year. And so he probably had a say in that. But I wonder if Kelvin Shepard's in his ear, like, hey man, who's our other edge right now? It's Marcus Davenport and whoever. Like, I don't know if that's good enough. I don't know if that's good enough here. But that's a really good point. And I think that kind of goes the same with John Morton in a sense with the interior of the offensive line. Obviously, Frank Ragnow's shirt up. Frank Ragnow's one of the best centers in the NFL. Mahogany, I think, is going to be a good player, and then it's Glasgow. It's like,
yeah, I don't know. Even though you could say there's a little bit of holes, I guess you could say, or they're trying some new things on that offensive line. They've shown flashes even with guys in and out of the offensive line that it's still an elite unit. We've shown flashes with Aiden Hutchinson on the defensive line where they're still struggling. And then we know what they are without Aiden Hutchinson. So that's what I don't get. I totally agree with Malik there.
Oh, so. I'll ask you this. some of our remaining free agents who haven't been signed yet by other teams, I believe. Some other ones are like, and we're just talking depth pieces here, Mike. We're not talking about guys that are going to be, the 3-down guy next to Hutch. But I mean, I look at AQM. I look at John Kaminsky. I mean, some of those guys, do any of those guys interest you to bring back to maybe for some depth?
No.
Not even AQM? You don't like AQM?
I mean, he's shown some flashes last year, but you can bring him back, but is he really moving the needle all that much, if any? Probably not.
We got a mailbag here, Randall Smalls. Could you see a surprise trade from Lions? I could see a vet get moved. Examples: Anzo, Monty, and Raymond could also have value to get us needs back and free cap for re-signing long term. I could see someone getting moved, but not any of those guys named. I think guys like Anzo and Monty. Obviously, Monty just got extended too, but those guys kind of just they're locker room guys, and they mean a lot to this team. Unless it's like a crazy end all be all deal that they need some, I couldn't see them getting moved. But Randall, I maybe they do move another vet that they find less valuable, but for those guys, I think those guys are kind of in a different echelon as far as this team goes. Yeah, I could see some sort of trade happening, but I don't know if it's necessarily moving on from one of our vets, maybe to go get one, like we saw last year when it was Carlton Davis. And yeah, so I don't know if it's going to be one of our vets getting moved, but I could definitely see some sort of trade. And I think, I think Khalif Raymond's an interesting one, actually. I mean,
yeah,
but I think that's a guy that means a lot to the locker room and a guy that means a lot to, honestly, the wide receiver room. And he was, a Pro Bowl punt returner. But you're right, Randall Smalls, none of them have been drafted by us. So, Brad Holmes has that special connection with players that have been drafted by us. I actually saw a tweet that said the day that Brad Holmes is going to have to let one of his guys that he drafted walk, it's going to be a dark day for him. Yeah, he's going to lock himself in a dark room. Jared Taylor, shout out Hutchinson on one and Trey Hendrickson on the other. Sure, sign me up.
Sign me up. But scenario.
It's so unrealistic. It's crazy. If we trade for Trey Hendrickson, you have to beg him to play on a 1-year deal because you can't sign him to the same amount of money as Hutch is going to want. You're going to have to beg him to play on his 1-year deal, which probably will not happen. So,
and I was talking to Jeff about this yesterday. I don't know if you guys talked about it on the Friday night show and whatnot, but would you be all right, or what is your whole stance on bringing Zadarius Smith back? Are you against that? Are you for that? If that's still a thing, if that's still out in the ether, would you be against that if he was the edge help of bringing him back? Because, I mean, obviously he's shown some flashes. He did, he got to the quarterback a few times, but then some games he was just totally taken out of it, playing 40% of snaps and shit like that. But I think he brings a different element once Aiden Hutchinson's healthy. So if you had to eliminate that guaranteed money by letting him go and then you bring him back now, I'm beyond okay with it. I would have done it to begin with. It would have been done with now, especially the way this edge room has shaken up, the way free agency has shaken up. I would bring him back under a different deal.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because all of us were saying Zadarius Smith isn't good enough next to Hutch. I think we took advantage of him a little bit now that he's released, and I do think he's the best guy available right now for me. When it comes to free agency. So yeah, I'd be happy to have him back. Obviously he loved it here. He made a ring, a Super Bowl ring for himself for the Lions. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I think there's a real possibility. There's another comment I want to bring up from Steve. They'll trade Hooker. That's a very real possibility. I think a team that, with the older quarterback, you could look at a team like the Raiders, if they decide not to go quarterback and they have Geno Smith did they sign him to an extension when they traded for him?
I have no idea.
But, you have a guy like Geno Smith. You could have Hendon Hooker sit behind him. I don't know. Maybe because I think right now we could say for the Detroit Lions that was a wasted draft pick, in the third round.
As of now, yes.
I could see Hendon Hooker being traded. We're going to get one more here. Matt, they're working on a Geno extension. That's crazy. Edward, I will say this. The difference between Zadarius Smith and Judon Zadarius Smith, I think, is a little better in the run game, but I would love to have Judon. I mean, any of these guys, man. I'd love these guys, but we're gonna wrap it up here. If you guys are going, Mike, where are we even going? I don't even know what this.
I don't know the exact location, to be honest. I just know it's downtown Detroit. So
yeah, well, if you got nothing to do today, come to downtown Detroit. God,
yes.
You know what? I wish I knew what the party was called. Big Tent St. Patty's party. If you're there,
Yes.
come say what up. Make sure to like the stream, subscribe. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah.
We'll be back next Saturday. And make sure to tune in Monday when the boys are live 8 to 10.
Yes.
So hope everybody has a good weekend. Peace out.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Till next week.